Hi guys, it's Miss McClure. This video is going to be about comparing rational numbers and ordering rational numbers. So remember from Tuesday, we learned that a rational number was any number that can be written as a fraction. And so we're going to be looking at decimals and fractions, and we're going to be seeing which is greater and then ordering them either from least to greatest or greatest to least. So if you did not do Tuesday's IXL, it is a new standard, but we are in P, so it will just be the first skill in P. It doesn't have a number, it just says P, and then it says new rational numbers on a number line. I know some of you were having trouble when you were on IXL looking or seeing the number lines. It wasn't there for some of you. Just try to refresh. IXL has been very busy. I've gotten in contact with them. Everything's good on my end when I see everything, and everything's good on their end, but they do know that there are a lot of people using IXL, so just be patient. I'm being patient, so when you can get that skill to me, just whenever, okay? But make sure you get it done. All right, so I'm going to flip it over to the whiteboard, and we are going to talk about comparing rational numbers and then putting them in order. Okay, so I broke my board in half because I think as long as we understand what a negative number is and what a positive number is, that this will go fairly easy. So P2 is your first skill today, and it is comparing rational numbers. So it's going to give you two numbers just like this, two numbers, one on the left and then one on the right, and it's going to ask you to put a less than, a greater than, or an equal sign in between those two numbers. So we would just select the sign in IXL of what should go in here. Now, I went ahead and put a number line down at the bottom, and you might want to draw one on a sheet of paper to remind yourself that in the middle here we have 0. Everything to the right of 0 on a number line is a positive number, and then the further away from 0, the greater the number gets. And then everything to the left of 0 are negative numbers. And it's the opposite, right? So the further away from 0 we get, the smaller the number is. -4 is smaller, is less than -3, okay? That's like saying you owe $4, or if you owe $3. $4 is, you would owe the most, right? Okay, so let's just start comparing these and do some examples. So I've got 0 and -4.5. So I want to know, and remember when I'm writing these, the alligator is eating the larger number. So if we look up here, the larger number is going to be on the right of the number line. So -4.5 would actually be past -4 right here, but it's going to be way over here, and 0's right here. So the number to the right is 0. So we know that 0 is actually it's not positive or negative, it's a neutral number, but it is greater than any negative number. All right, let's look at this one. We've got -2 and -1/2. Well, -2 is right here on our number line. -1/2 would be in between the 0 and the -1. It's halfway into our negative. So it would be right here. So the one to the right, the -1/2, is our greatest value. So remember, the alligator eats the larger one. So -2 is less than -1/2. All right, let's look at our third one here. We've got 1/1 and then 1. Now, we know that if we have the same numerator and same denominator, it equals a whole number. So this whole number would be 1. So 1 and 1 are equal. Okay, so that's an example. These are examples of questions that you're going to be asked in skill P2 to compare those rational numbers. Remember, I would create a number line on your paper to help you out, but if you have a positive number and a negative number, the positive number is always going to be greater than your negative number, which kind of helps us in our next skill when we have P3, when we are ordering and putting these in order from least to greatest or greatest to least. You have to be careful in IXL because it will switch it up. So I've got 0.5 or 5/10, that's how we say this decimal, a negative 2 and 6/12, sorry, or that would be negative 2 and 1/2, and then negative 0.6 or negative 6/10. Now, I am not going to get too detailed here because I know that I've got one positive and two negatives. So I know this positive is greater than these two negatives. Now, all I have to do is figure out which one of these is the greatest, because I want to order these. Let's say we're going from greatest to least. So I know that my greatest is my positive, so I'm just going to go ahead and put 0.5. And then I've got two negatives. Well, if I go down to my number line right here, 0.6 would not even, it would be a little bit halfway. And then negative 2 and 6/12 would be negative 2 and 1/2, which would be right here. So the one that's furthest to the right on the number line is the greatest one, and that would be my negative 0.6, right? Because this is closer to 0 in the negatives than this. So this is greater, and then my least value in this case is this. So I have them ordered from greatest to least. Okay? All right, let's look at these three. Let's go from least to greatest now. So I know my negatives are going to be smaller than my positives, and I've got one positive right here, so I know I'm going from least to greatest, and this is going to be my greatest. So I've got a negative 5, which is all the way over here on my number line, and then negative 0.8, which is not even negative 1 yet, which is right here. So the one that's closest to 0, furthest to the right on the number line, and negative 5 is way out here, is greater than this over here. So 0.8 would be, and then negative 5 would be my least. So going from least to greatest. And then our last one, let's go back from greatest to least, because IXL does a really good job of switching them up, so you've got to pay attention. So we're going from greatest to least, so I know that my positive number is larger than my two negative numbers, so I'm just going to go ahead and write my positive number down, 1 and 12/15. Now let's look at my two negative numbers. So I've got a negative 1, and then I've got a negative 1 and 27/30. Well, this is negative 1, and this is negative 1 and more, right? So negative 1 is right here on my number line. Negative 1 and more is somewhere in between the negative 1 and the negative 2, right? So, and it really doesn't matter. Let's just say it's right here. It's actually really close to 27/30 is really close to over here. But I'm looking at this one right here and this one right here. Negative 1, and I know that it's somewhere in between the negative 1 and the negative 2. Which one is closer to 0 on your number line? The negative 1, right? So this is the next greatest one. So that would be negative 1 next, and then negative 1 and 27/30. Okay? All right, like I said, It really does help to draw a number line and label your number line. So to help you with especially getting into those negatives, remember the further away from 0 that you get on that number line, the actual smaller the number is, even though like -5 is smaller than -4. It's opposite when you get into the negatives. So remember that. If you have any questions, please contact me, email me. I will help you with anything that I can. Again, if you were having trouble seeing those number lines for Tuesday skills, try to jump back on, get them done when you can. Be patient with IXL. Love you guys. Miss you. Bye.